A very good day to one and all. So this session is on dental care for special children with special healthcare needs. So this class is mainly on autism and epilepsy. Mental retardation and cerebral palsy has already been discussed earlier in an earlier class. So disabled means it does not mean worthless. It's never about productivity. It's about humanity. So disability and handicap means it is very different words which has different meaning. Disability is the functional limitation within the individuals caused by physical, mental or sensory impairment. Whereas handicapped means it is the loss or limitation of opportunities to take part in normal life of the community on an equal level with other due to physical and social barrier. So disability means it can be either functional limitation caused by something physical or it can be mental because of the low IQ or sensory impairments like in case if the individual is blind, deaf or dumb. Whereas handicap means there is total loss or there is proper limitation of opportunities to take part in a normal life matters like a community level matter or others like physically or there will be definitely physical and social barriers to take part in such opportunities. So historical background when it comes to special child or plight of these children was dependent on the custom, culture, and belief of era. So it was very difficult during the ancient times for such children to survive in many countries. There was a custom known as infanticide, which was followed in ancient Greece and Rome, where the neonates were examined by the State Council of Inspectors. And if they suspect any kind of defect, like handicapped or if the child is disabled, child will be thrown from a cliff to its own death. That means that was the custom which was followed in ancient times in Greece and Rome. It was known as infanticide. In the second century AD, those children were sold to be used for entertainment purpose and amusement, like in circus and all. In 476 to 1799 AD, the status varied greatly. It started improving, and the quality of life of children slightly started improving. That means many children were sold into slavery. Abandonment were still there or left out in the cold. That means they were left out to death. But towards the end of 1690s, there was a person named John Locke who published a journal named as An Essay Concerning Human Understanding. He basically mentioned regarding how important is are such children and how they can have a proper life, the importance of humanitarian concepts regarding the special children. And after this publication of this journal, then many changes has happened. The status of such infanticides and death of special children stopped up to a limit because of him. Uh, Basically, on his publication based on human understanding and the giving importance to special children. So there are several definitions. So when you are asked to write about what is the definition of a disabled child and what is a handicapped child, and there are this AB definition for special healthcare needs children. Nowadays, we don't call them as handicapped children or a special child, or we don't call that child as its diagnosis. If the child is a Down syndrome, if the child is diagnosed with a Down syndrome, we don't call it as a Down syndrome child. We are supposed to call them as child with special healthcare needs. So in general, they will come under the title child with special healthcare needs. So there are very important definitions like Developmental Disability Service and Facilities Construction Act has defined developmental disability to include people with mental retardation, cerebral palsy, epilepsy, and other neurological conditions closely related to mental retardation which originate prior to age 18 and constitute a substantial handicap in the year 1975 amendments. Whereas in McDonald and Avery, the textbook, Bedell has described or defined a disabled child as a disabled child is one who has mental, physical, medical, or social condition that prevent the child from achieving full potential when compared to other children of same age. Whereas WHO definition for handicapped children are, they defined it as one who over an appreciable time is prevented by a physical or mental condition from full participation in the normal activities of his age group, including those of social, recreational, education, and vocational nature. And the EPD's definition for disabled child is a person should be considered to have a dental disability if pain, infection, or lack of functional dentition leads to restriction of nutritional intake, advocate for growth and energy needs. This is the definition for dental disability. So this definition was given by AAPD in the year of 2014 and 15, where dental disability is defined as a person should be considered to have dental disability if pain, if the patient individual, that individual, if they have pain or infection or lack of functional dentition leads to restriction of nutritional intake, adequate for growth and energy needs. So APD's definition. So you may get a long essay asking define special healthcare needs children, and the second part of the question may be either one of the condition. It can be mental retardation, cerebral palsy, then you can get autism spectrum disorders, or even epileptic children, or even the children with congenital cardiac disorder. These are the most commonly asked questions which you may get from this chapter. So the first part will be always define special healthcare needs or define special child. Any physical, developmental, mental, sensory, behavioral, cognitive, or emotional impairment or limiting condition that requires medical management, healthcare intervention, and or use of specialized services or programs. So this is the definition for special healthcare needs, which was given by AAPD. So it can be congenital, developmental, or acquired, or this may be attained through some kind of disease, trauma, or it can also be due to some of the environmental causes. So classification of special healthcare needs, which was given by Franklin Winter in 1974, was given as blind or partially sighted, deaf and partially deaf, educationally subnormal, epileptic, maladjusted, physically handicapped, defective of speech, senile. Then, according to Agerholm in 1975, they basically classified into two categories: intrinsic category and extrinsic category. Intrinsic category includes the handicapped condition cannot be eliminated, separated, or improved significantly in the children. Conditions like cerebral palsy and mental retardation, there are no treatment strategies for such diagnosis or diseases. So those conditions come under intrinsic category, whereas extrinsic category is nothing but the handicapped condition may be made better with strategic meticulous care, like social deprivation is an example. So Novak's classification in the year of 1975 gave it this way: physically handicapped, for example, polio; mentally handicapped, MR, mental retardation; congenital defects like cleft lip and palate; convulsive, example is epilepsy; communication disorders, example is deafness; then systemic diseases like hemophilia, congenital heart disease, etc. Epilepsy comes all under systemic conditions. Metabolic examples are juvenile diabetes or any endocrine disorders, osseous disorders like rickets, malignant disorders like leukemia, etc. So Damle's, there is one more classification which was a recent classification given by Damle in the year of 2000. He divided into physically handicapped, mentally handicapped, sensory handicapped, medically compromised, and multi-handicapped. So physically handicapped are the monoplegic and paraplegic children. Example is CP. The different types of CP is monoplegic, paraplegic. Mentally handicapped is example Down syndrome, which the IQ is very less. Sensory handicap means deafness, blindness, etc. Medically compromised are children with systemic conditions like hemophilia, leukemia, and multi-handicapped are multiple handicapping conditions. So they will be having a, it will be like a syndrome. Two or more conditions will be together. And next is handicap for dentistry. Children who fall into above mentioned categories, all of them. Then dentally handicapped will be with oral abnormality. And one of the examples, cleft lip and palate. So, dentistry for special child. So what is the dental care? Like, what are the changes or management of dental management of such children? So, in 1960s, there were restricted to relief of painful emergencies. So, only painful emergencies were treated for such children. And whereas in 1990s, it got evolved into pre-doctoral curriculum, teaching dental management of disabled individuals came into the some of the colleges where these professionals are trained to treat only these special children. So need for dental services became higher rates of poor oral hygiene, gingivitis and periodontitis were more commonly seen in such children. So the need for dental services also increased. So the limited services special child was there because numerous barriers encountered by the disabled people were there. Insufficient dental schools, then dentists who are willing to treat such children. Transportation difficulties was one of the problem. Architectural and physical barriers. In case if you can imagine, some of the clinics are situated on the second floor, and if the child is not if disabled or handicapped, they won't be able to reach such places. So there will be definite transportation difficulties. Then architectural and physical barriers, lack of motivation and fear. So these are one of the some of the reasons like where limited services are given for the special children. Financial limitations will be there because most probably the child won't be able to treat under local anesthesia or in the dental chair. So such children requires treatment under general anesthesia, which is not at all economical when you compare it with the normal treatment which you can give in a dental chair. Then parental and institutional ignorance are considered nowadays and requires many additional, like a lot of time and patience is required to treat such children. So some of the risk factors for special children are one of it is diet, where liquid soft and pureed food are very common in such children because there some of them will be having difficulty in chewing, and if the patient is paralyzed, the child will be definitely under liquid soft and pureed food. So such food are basically known as retentive foods. So retention of food in the mouth for a long time period prior to swallowing is one of the high risk, like this falls under high risk for having caries. So many disabled children have chronic diarrhea and constipation because of their dietary pattern. Muscular functions like hypotonia, paresis, influences salivation, drooling of saliva, and chewing problems are there. Then hyperfunctions result in extensive tooth wear, and the most majority of the cases, children will be having bruxism and traumatic ulcerations because of this. They are underlying systemic diseases. Then oral hygiene problems mainly encountered in the mental retarded patients, autistic patients, and spastic patients because they might not be following proper oral hygiene instructions, and it basically depends on the guardian or whoever is taking care of the child. Plus the IQ of the child also is very important when you consider following up an oral hygiene instructions require the child's cooperation and even the guardian's cooperation. Then sweetened medications proves a caries hazard, that is drugs that reduces salivation are given for children with epilepsy and seizure disorders, which increases susceptibility to caries. Then most of the age groups will prefer syrups, and most of these syrups contain sweetened agents like definitely there will be sugar added to all of the syrups. And once these sugar syrups are consumed, um, in most of the conditions, the such children does not rinse their mouth after having the medication. So that will also act as a retentive food and which will further lead to the formation of the caries. Some of the general consideration which you can take into the clinics are dental office access. It should be barrier-free facilities. Facilities should be available for such children with disabilities. Then more width of the doorway should be there in case if the child is coming with a wheelchair. Then provision of wheelchair turning space should be there. Operatory specifically designed with movable dental chair, so which is a mobile dental chair which can be customized to place in whichever area is necessary. An instrument control unit and a suction unit should also come along with that. And dental chair should be adjustable to match different to a wheelchair design also. and the entrance area should have a slope of 1 is to 20-degree angulation and a railing of with an angulation of 1 is to 12, and floor of the entrance shouldn't be slippery, it should be non-slippery. So in the patient screening area, what some of the like information which you're supposed to record are basic biographical or demographic data. Then the medical, they are medical diagnosis. And once this medical diagnosis is recorded, we should definitely have a consent from the specific physician or the consultant who is checking the child. Then the present medications, ambulation status, then the physician's details, last date of examination and summary. Last date of examination and summary is very important because the child's medication status, then the current status of the child, for example, if the child is having epilepsy or any seizure disorder, then definitely the last episode should be recorded because then only we'll be able to identify how frequent the child goes into like a seizure or if, how frequent the child has such episodes, and then only we can anticipate it and do the needful while we are doing the procedures. Then the family involvement is very important. Initial conversation with the parent and caretaker is very, very important in proceeding with the dental treatment for such children. Dental auxiliaries must try to understand the frustration and anxiousness of both the parents and the child. Then parents may turn hostile. Some of their reaction might be hostile and it can be uncertain. They will be fearful, plus that shame will be there. Frequently, they will be frustrated and lack of confidence will be there in treating special child. Some of the modifications which have been done for the investigation process, like the radiographs, are radiograph survey is delayed until second visit. So first visit, we won't send the child for a radiograph. Mostly preferred not to send the child on the first appointment. Then modified techniques may be necessary, especially the child won't be cooperative. It is basically indicated in children with limited mouth opening, hyperactive gag reflex, macroglossia. Then in case of behavior management issues, poor muscular control, some of the alternative methods used are the lateral jaw projection, anterior occlusal projection, and buccal bite ring radiograph. These are the more convenient methods rather than the normal procedures which we take. So the first appraisal, schedule the patient early in the day. So first appointment should be, they should get a first appointment so that the child will have a proper patience and even the parent of the child will be fresh and they will not be tired, hungry, and they will at least have the patience to listen to what we are saying and we can take time to examine the child and the cooperative ability. So giving sufficient time to talk with the parent and the patient. Appointments should be short and stress free. Sending a short note before and after appointment will be very helpful. So, along with the child's name, age, and chief complaint, the receptionist should also get involved in such procedures. They should determine the presence and nature of any special healthcare need, and when appropriate, the name of the child's medical care provider should also be noted. And the office staff, under the guidance of the dentist, should determine the need for an increased length of appointment. So, based on that, in such children, the appointment schedule should be in such a way that this child should require more timing, and the uh, rest of the patient's appointment should be recorded in such manner. Then only we'll have an efficient way of delivering the treatment for such children. So detailed case history is definitely required even if you are practicing in a clinic. And plus, along with that, proper medical history. And in case if you can record these things and keep a copy in your case sheet, it will be very useful. Parental anxiety about the child's dental treatment may be a significant factor, and their cooperation is also very much important when you're treating a special child. So, sending a letter before the appointment explaining the first visit to the family, and sending another letter afterward, letting them know how helpful they were is very beneficial. So, this is something known as pre appointment behavior management. Pre appointment letter, which is given to the parent and even for the child to get a positive dental attitude. So this comes under this, you will be reading under behavior management methods, and one of them will be the pre-appointment letters. So these are not practiced nowadays, but this is a very effective method which you can practice. Communication with the patient is very important. If the proper it can be verbal or non-verbal, in whichever way, use proper euphemism with the child, get a proper rapport if the child can communicate with you. So, how do you assess a disabled child? There are certain management scales which are available. One of the management scale which I am discussing here is given by Minius in 1971. This is the management scale which has got six scales are there, six stages are there. Where MS1, the patient is easy to manage, cooperative and friendly. Two is the patient has some reluctance but responds well to verbal management by the operator, potentially good patients. Then third category is the patient is unable to or willing to reason out. Cooperation is very poor, manageable with minimal restraints. And four is the patient requires restraint to allow any treatment. Pre-medication may be needed in addition to restraint. Then the next category is the patient is extremely difficult to manage and require complete restraints to accomplish any treatment. Deeply sedate the patient or the child's treatment should be done under general anesthesia. Then MS management scale 6 is small uncooperative child who only needed a minimal amount of treatment. So the type 4 will come as, sorry, 5 and 6 will be very highly uncooperative, like small uncooperative. 6 will be small uncooperative child, only needed a minimal amount of treatment. Child treated usually with physical restraints. So basically, as you can see from the management scale 1 to 6, as it ranges, the uncooperativeness of the child increases. So this is one of the scale which you can use to record the cooperativeness of the special child. So some of the behavior modifications which you can keep up or do in such children are, as we have discussed earlier, the clinical pattern should be very welcoming for such children. So, and the child should definitely gain experience with the dental environment. Only then, so desensitization is very important for such children. They should get accustomed with the environment, and some, especially in case of autism and all, the child requires many more visits to accept the environment and even the doctor and even the staffs who are dealing with him, and only then they will have a less stressful and less anxious response to whatever stimulus we are giving to. So children's response to a six appointment regimen with study responses became increasingly negative. So with a series of four injections. So even with less appointments, like less appointment time and doing the procedures as early as possible is very much effective, as we see in normal children also. It will be very important. It is very important to manage even the special healthcare children to somehow like finish with the early give earlier appointments and keep the appointments short, so that you will get proper attention from the child. Even though it is less short span, even the attention span will be very less in such children, it is also better to keep the appointment for a short span. Then you can give the appointments, text appointments, and very minimal, starting with the minimal invasive techniques. Then only you have to uh, come forward with the invasive methods. So dental experience desensitizes the child's behavior in non-stressful procedure and sensitized to stressful procedure. So Udin in 1989 said that behavior of a child is consistent over the three visits regardless of type of treatment rendered. So some children, it might not differ. Even the first visit, second visit, or third visit, they might not be able to understand what is exactly happening, and they might give you the same kind of reaction when you compare with the all three appointments, because their IQ level and emotional quotient will be very less when you compare to the normal children. So the fear shows specific fear intolerance to certain aspect of the treatment, and it was found that the most important factor is attitude and experience of the family. in relation to the dentistry. So if the family accept it in a very wide manner, it will be very easier for the dental professional also to continue with the treatment procedure in the child. Plus, along with that, maternal anxiety and the parental anxiety is a major factor affecting the behavior of the child. So, the approaching management is basically on the behavior management technique like Telsho do to orient the child to new element of rental management. The friendliness is very important with the maintenance of the authority. And basically, we recommend dentists should emotionally support the child by permitting to express their feelings. So you can even use a home method in case if it is applicable. So it is not recommended for a mentally retarded child, but still you can try doing that so that at least they will sit and listen to you. Some of the behavior modifications are application of reinforcement therapy. You can give tokens, some check marks or candy like an appreciation for their positive dental behavior. So its use with children is promising and its misuse can also be a terrifying response from the child's side. So the management we'll be dealing in the next session. Thank you for your patient listening.